Hello, my name is Teddy. First of all, happy holidays to anyone who celebrates. Today, we will be getting into the festive spirit while we learn about breadboards, resistors, and LEDs. Our project to showcase our learning will be a breadboard Christmas tree, or as close as you can get to a Christmas tree using a breadboard. I tried my hardest. Anyways, allow me to explain the project specs. As you can see on your screen, we'll be using a breadboard, 9-volt battery and the battery clip that goes with it, some multicolored LEDs, a power supply module for the breadboard, male-to-male jumper wires, and 1000 ohm resistors. Before we get into this next segment of the video, I want to apologize for any shakiness. I don't have a tripod right now, but we're going to make do with what we have. So here's our breadboard, and I want to call attention to these red and blue lines going all the way up and down on both sides. Those are our power lines, and that's where we will supply voltage. And this in the middle is the components, or where the components will go. On my breadboard, there's a divot here that is separating these rows. But here, all the components are connected row-wise. And here, at the power lines, they're connected column-wise. So we will practice this skill as we're actually placing things, but just to get your mind in the right space, I wanted to go over generally how this works. Alright, these are LEDs. You may have seen these before, they're pretty common. There's not much you need to know about them, other than which side connects to positive and which side connects to negative. Well, it's pretty easy to tell. Here, the longer leg will connect to positive, and the shorter leg will connect to negative or ground. All that you need to do is run electricity through these diodes, is what they're called, light-emitting diodes, and they will not burn, but show off their color. They'll light up. That's the word I was looking for. So they'll light up. I have a red, green, blue, and yellow one, but there's many colors. And I'm going to link a video in the description about the history of how these colors were created. It's actually really dramatic and interesting, so go check that out. Alright, it's time to talk about one of the most important components of our circuit, which is the resistors. So I said that LEDs light up if you put electricity through them. If you do that directly with a 9-volt battery, instead of lighting up, your LED is going to make a popping noise and it will never light up ever again because you would basically be burning it out. It's too much electricity to be flowing through a tiny little LED and it breaks it. So to avoid that, we have to use resistors. Alright, so we're going to use the equation resistance equals Vs minus Vf over I. That doesn't make much sense, so I rewrote it as resistance equals the voltage from the source minus the forward voltage of the component divided by the desired current of the component. So all of that information in the equation can be found from just Googling. So voltage from source, my battery says 9 volts on it, so I put 9 volts. And then the forward voltage of most 5mm LEDs is 2 volts. And then I also Googled what's the desired current of 5mm LEDs, and I got 0.02 amps. So we divide that out and we get 350 ohms. That is like the minimum amount of resistance that we can use to make sure that our little LEDs don't explode. For my purposes, I'm going to be using an 1000 ohm resistor because that's kind of the closest that I can get to 350, even though it's 3 times that. But either way, my lights aren't too dim, so it's fine. Feel free to make the same decision as long as you're not afraid of maybe breaking one of your components. They're pretty cheap though, so feel free to experiment. Before we move on from resistors, I want to talk about how to read the values on the resistors, because sometimes it's not labeled for you, or you've just, I don't know, have them in a bag because you've used them before. So sometimes you do have to actually read what kind of resistance each one has. So the ones that I'm using have 5 bands, so I'm going to put up a chart of that. The first 3 digits are just regular base 10 decimal numbers. So on the ones that I have today, let me see, it looks like the first digit, or the first band, is brown, which is a 1, and then it's followed by 2 zeros, which are black. So brown, black, black means 100. And then the multiplier here is brown, so that means 100 times 10, which is 1,000. So that means this is 1,000 ohms. And then the last band, I believe this one is brown, it's hard to tell, which is a tolerance range, so that means it could be plus or minus 1% from 1,000. Alright, it's time to start making our project. The first thing you're going to do is get your breadboard, your 9-volt battery, battery clip, and the power supply module, and you are going to plug the power supply module into your breadboard. Pay close attention to which side is positive and negative, and make sure that you plug it in appropriately. Now, if you mess this up, you'll find out pretty quick and you'll be able to solve it very easily. Okay, it's time to place your LEDs. Since I'm doing a Christmas tree, I did a big yellow star on top and some triangular shaped ornaments on the bottom. Here, be as creative as you want, but remember where your LEDs are facing. So on this big yellow one, the positive one is facing on this left side, and the negative one is facing on the right. For all of the other ones, the positive is facing upwards, and the negative is facing towards me. So as long as you keep that straight, we can move on to the next step, which is placing the resistors. Alright, so after we place the LEDs, we're doing the resistors. Notice here that I am connecting the positive side to the positive side here with a resistor. This yellow one's positive side is facing this way, and the negative one is facing this way. We're only hooking up the positive side right now. So I hooked up these other ones to positive via their row as well. So positive to positive, positive to positive, come down, positive to positive, positive to positive. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to connect to ground. Alright, so this part can get a little messy and it's hard to see, so pay attention to how this generally works and I'll let you figure out the rest. So here, we're going to hook this yellow LED up to ground. This one's the most simple one, so right next to it on the same row as that's out of focus. On the same row as the negative side, I'm going to connect a male-to-male jumper wire, and then down here, I'm going to create that siding of the Christmas tree, see? And connect to ground on this side. So if I turn my circuit on, that yellow LED lights up. None of the others do because they are not fully connected. The circuit isn't complete. So using this principle, we also have to think about how do we bridge this gap in the middle. The way that I have thought to do it, and I wish I had smaller jumper wires, but I've connected each side's, this thing is sliding on me. I've connected each side's positive to the other side's positive, and then I'll do the same by hooking up the negative to the other side's negative. So it creates this little loop in the middle. It looks pretty bad, but there's not much we can do. And we connect that negative to ground, and both of them light up. So continue this pattern all the way through. Notice that you don't have to connect, you don't have to bridge that same gap over here with these two blue ones because they are already connected via that row system. You only have to connect these two that are separated by the median. Same with these reds. Alright, I'm going to complete that and come back after I'm done. Alright, everything is wired up. So I had to make a slight adjustment to this bottom row with the blue LEDs. It was way too bright with the resistance that we had. So originally 1000. So I upped this bottom resistor to a 4000, and it's a little bit less bright. It's still super bright. But yeah, this is the finished Christmas tree. I know it doesn't look very Christmas tree-like, but this is a good way to practice wiring up stuff and working with breadboards. I look forward to seeing if anybody will attempt this and email me a picture, or if anybody has any better ideas. Certainly I need to get a tripod and some better wires. These were the shortest ones I had and they're kind of flimsy. I'm going to get some better ones, but this is all I have for the project today. Alright, that's going to do it for today. Thank you so much for sticking around and learning with me. I hope you once again have a great holiday, and I'll see you next time.